Listen closely. There comes a moment in every life when comfort becomes the greatest enemy of greatness. You know this moment. It whispers to you in the quiet hours when you promise to begin tomorrow, yet tomorrow becomes the graveyard of your potential. The universe does not reward the one who merely wishes. It rewards the one who commands himself into motion, even when every nerve in his body trembles with resistance. The strongest man is not the one who feels no fear, but the one who moves through fear with disciplined purpose. You must understand, your emotions are servants, not masters. They are waves upon the ocean of your consciousness, but you are the ocean. When you allow emotion to decide your movement, you become a prisoner of the temporary. But when you detach, when you act in spite of hesitation, you awaken the divine within you. Every time you force yourself to act, you are breaking chains unseen by the world, but deeply felt by your own soul. The greatest victories are born not from inspiration, but from obedience. Obedience to purpose, to discipline, to divine order. There will be days when your mind says later, your heart says I can't, and your flesh says rest. But the spirit within you demands that you rise, because destiny does not wait for your convenience. The laws of success answer only to those who are willing to do what must be done, whether they feel like it or not. Consider this truth. Success has never been a matter of talent. When you can rise above your feelings and act from principle, you have aligned yourself with the order of creation itself. You are not here to wait for motivation. You are here to move regardless of it. You are here to master yourself so deeply that hesitation becomes foreign. The power to act is not granted to the chosen few. It is discovered by those who choose themselves. Each time you force yourself to begin, even in the smallest task, you are rewriting your destiny. For the mind learns from repetition, and the spirit learns from resolve. There is a sacred law written upon the soul of every achiever: act first, feel later. If you obey that law, life will obey you. If you disobey it, life will punish you with regret. The man who commands his action commands his fate. The woman who disciplines her time disciplines her reality. The one who detaches from emotion and obeys purpose becomes a vessel for divine accomplishment. So, when you wake tomorrow and the weight of resistance presses against you, remember this truth: your destiny is waiting on the other side of effort. Force yourself to move. Force yourself to begin. For in that sacred act of will, the universe bends to your command and declares, you have finally become the master of yourself. Discipline is the highest form of self-love because it is the act of standing by yourself when no one else is watching. It is the silent promise you keep when there is no applause, no recognition, no comfort to soothe your doubt. Discipline is the invisible bridge between who you are and who you must become. When you force yourself to act in the absence of motivation, you are not being cruel to yourself. You are declaring your worth to your own soul. You are saying, I am worthy of the effort it takes to rise above my excuses. Most people mistake discipline for restriction, yet it is the truest form of freedom. The undisciplined are slaves to their moods, chained to every fleeting emotion that passes through them. The disciplined, however, are free, for they have learned that emotion is a visitor, not a master. When you understand this, you begin to see that forcing yourself to get things done is not an act of aggression against yourself, but an act of spiritual alignment. It is aligning your behavior with your purpose rather than your feelings. Feelings are deceptive. They are children of the moment, shifting with every circumstance. One day they inspire, the next they betray. But purpose remains. It does not bend to weather. It does not fade in darkness. Purpose is eternal, and discipline is the language through which you communicate with it. When you force yourself to act, you are in truth speaking the language of purpose. You are telling life that you are ready to be trusted with more. Discipline demands that you silence the inner voice of comfort, the whisper that says, you've done enough today, or you deserve to rest. There is a difference between resting because you have earned, renewal, and resting because you are avoiding your own greatness. The spirit knows the difference. One restores energy, the other corrodes potential. To love yourself truly is to refuse to let weakness dictate your actions. It is to rise even when fatigue tempts you to stop, to move even when the reward feels distant, to believe even when the evidence of progress is invisible. That is the sacred ground where transformation begins. The world belongs not to the intelligent or the talented, but to the disciplined. Talent is fragile without structure. Intelligence is wasted without execution. Discipline turns ideas into creation, vision into reality, dreams into manifestation. Every master you have ever admired began as a beginner who refused to surrender to emotion. They learned early that progress is not born from inspiration, it is born from obedience. Obedience to the voice within that says, "Do it anyway." That command, simple yet divine, is the sound of power echoing from the higher self. When you force yourself to act, even in small ways, you are creating spiritual momentum. Every deliberate action strengthens the will. The will, once strengthened, becomes unshakable. It is not the act itself that transforms you, but the decision to act when you do not feel like it. That decision is a statement of faith. Faith in yourself, faith in your purpose, faith in the unseen law that rewards effort. The universe bends to the discipline because it recognizes its own order within them. Chaos cannot conquer a soul that has mastered itself. Most people spend their lives waiting to feel ready, but readiness is a mirage. No one feels ready to face the unknown. Readiness is not emotional, it is spiritual. It comes after action, not before it. When you act, even clumsily, the mind aligns, the heart awakens, and strength is born. When you wait for courage, courage withers. When you act without it, courage grows. The very act of forcing yourself to move becomes the seed of confidence. You cannot think your way into strength. You must act your way into it. To live without discipline is to live in quiet chaos, a cycle of promise and postponement, desire and delay. Each time you say, "I'll do it tomorrow," you teach your subconscious that your word cannot be trusted. You weaken the bridge between thought and action. But each time you force yourself to do what you said you would do, no matter how small, you rebuild that bridge. You prove to your own mind that you are reliable. The moment your mind begins to believe you, it begins to follow your command. That is when the external world starts to obey your will. For the outer world is only a mirror of the inner one. Discipline is sacred because it is proof of dominion, not over others, but over oneself. To rule the self is to rule the universe. The man who cannot control his impulses is ruled by them. The woman who cannot rise above her moods is carried away by them. Discipline is the key that locks the door to weakness. It is not suppression, it is transformation. It is the conscious choice to direct your energy toward creation instead of consumption, progress instead of distraction, purpose instead of pleasure. When you force yourself to get things done, you are rewriting your destiny in real time. You are refusing to be governed by the same cycles that held you yesterday. Every act of discipline is an act of faith. Faith that there is more to you than what your emotions suggest. It is the declaration that your vision deserves movement, not waiting. And the beautiful truth is this: the more you discipline yourself, the more the universe begins to trust you with greater responsibility. The divine does not pour abundance into a vessel that leaks through inconsistency. It gives more to those who have proven they can manage the little. Ibrahim, do not wait to feel worthy before you act. Act, and worthiness will find you. Do not wait to feel inspired before you begin. Begin, and inspiration will meet you halfway. You were not created to be a victim of your moods, but a commander of them. Every time you silence the voice of delay and choose discipline, you ascend, you evolve, you move closer to your divine design. And though no one may see your silent battles, the reward is carved within your character. Because discipline, in the end, is not about doing. It is about becoming. It is about becoming the kind of person who can no longer betray their own purpose. To force yourself to get things done is not to fight against your nature. It is to return to it. You were born with the power to direct your will, to shape your destiny, to bring thought into form. But somewhere along the way, the world taught you to wait for permission. Discipline is the process of reclaiming that original power. It is the soul remembering its authority. It is the moment when you decide that your word to yourself will be law, not suggestion. And once you reach that level of mastery, nothing, not fear, not fatigue, not failure, can stop you. Discipline is the highest form of love because it says, I believe in the version of me that is yet to be revealed. When you force yourself to act, you are choosing to honor that version. You are proving to your Creator that you are ready to handle the life you've been asking for. That is why discipline feels divine, because it connects you to the eternal truth that you were never meant to be ordinary. You were meant to rise. You were meant to do what others won't, to feel what others can't, to create what others fear to begin. Discipline is the fire through which greatness is forged, and only those willing to walk through that fire ever discover the gold within themselves. Emotional detachment is not coldness, it is mastery. It is the quiet strength of one who has learned to move through chaos without losing inner harmony. To detach does not mean to stop feeling. It means to stop being controlled by what you feel. It is the art of holding. Emotion in one hand and direction in the other, without letting one drown the other. The majority of people live as slaves to their moods, tossed by every wave of emotion that enters their mind. But the one who learns detachment becomes like the mountain, still, firm, unshaken by the passing storms. This is not a denial of feeling, but the transformation of it. It is a higher awareness that says, I can feel deeply, yet still choose wisely. To force yourself to act in spite of emotion is to claim sovereignty over your own mind. The undisciplined spirit moves only when inspired. The mastered spirit moves even in silence. You will know true detachment when you can act with purpose while the noise of fear, doubt, and anxiety scream within you. And yet, you remain still enough to do what must be done. The power of detachment lies in knowing that emotions are guests, not guides. They may visit your home, but they are not allowed to rearrange your furniture. You allow them to be, but you do not allow them to command. Many confuse detachment with indifference. They think that to detach is to stop caring, to cease feeling. But this is a misunderstanding born of weakness. True detachment is born of strength, not avoidance. Indifference says, I do not care. Detachment says, I care so deeply that I refuse to be destroyed by what I care for. It is the understanding that passion without discipline is self-sabotage. You must learn to stand apart from the emotion of the moment so you can see the situation in its true form. Emotion clouds perception, detachment clarifies it. When you detach, you are not running from life. You are positioning yourself to handle it with divine intelligence. You must rise to a place within where you no longer need to feel good to do good. The mature soul has learned that the value of an action is not in how it feels, but in what it produces. Detachment gives you the power to act on principle rather than on preference. It gives you the ability to stay calm when others panic, to stay focused when others crumble, to keep moving when others freeze. When you detach, you are not heartless, you are heart-centered, but mind-led. You have discovered the sacred balance between compassion and command, between empathy and execution. The spiritually detached individual has discovered something profound, that the world is a reflection of one's own internal state. When you react emotionally to every circumstance, you are surrendering your power to external forces. But when you detach, you reclaim that power. You realize that no event, no person, no setback has authority over your inner peace unless you grant it permission. That realization is liberation. When you can walk through pain without collapsing into it, when you can face disappointment without bitterness, when you can lose what you love and still continue your mission, that is mastery. Every great achiever throughout time has understood this principle in one form or another. They learned to detach from outcomes, to release their obsession with immediate results, and to remain loyal to the process. Detachment is the bridge between effort and destiny. You do your part, then let life do its part. When you cling to outcomes, you suffocate the process. When you detach, you invite flow. It is not about apathy, it is about trust. Trust that your disciplined action will bear fruit in due time. This form of detachment is also emotional maturity. It means you no longer seek validation from others to know your worth. You no longer crumble when misunderstood, nor over-celebrate when praised. Praise and criticism become equal wins to the one who is rooted in purpose. Detachment is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is the realization that your value was never meant to be negotiated through the opinions of others. When you detach from external approval, your confidence becomes divine, unshakable, unwavering, unconditioned. You must understand that emotional detachment does not numb you, it sharpens you. It allows you to see beyond illusion. When emotion drives action, clarity is lost. But when clarity drives action, emotion follows in harmony. The one who can stand still in the middle of chaos has already won half the battle of life. To detach is to remain centered in truth when lies surround you. To keep faith alive when evidence seems absent. To remain loyal to purpose when comfort tempts you to quit. That is the power of inner mastery, to feel everything yet be ruled by nothing. When you force yourself to act while detached, you are acting from a place of higher consciousness. You are saying, I choose action not because I feel ready, but because I am ready. Detachment separates the temporary self from the eternal self. The temporary self reacts, the eternal self responds. When you operate from this eternal self, you become the calm in every storm. You realize that emotional turbulence cannot destroy what is rooted in truth. The more you practice detachment, the stronger your spiritual muscles become. You begin to notice that you are less shaken by what once disturbed you deeply. You gain the ability to pause between stimulus and response, and in that pause you find freedom. The power of detachment is not found in isolation, but in mastery of engagement. It means you can be deeply involved in your work, your relationships, your dreams, and yet not lose yourself within them. It means you can give your all without being consumed by results. You can love deeply without becoming dependent. You can fail completely without collapsing into despair. Detachment allows you to keep your soul intact in a world that constantly pulls at your emotions. It is a shield made not of coldness, but of understanding. ABRQ life will always test your detachment. It will send people, pain, and promises to see if you have learned to act from principle rather than impulse. Each test is an invitation to rise. You will be tempted to react, to chaz, to argue, to prove, but the detached soul remains still. Stillness is not passivity, it is power held in reserve. It is the mark of one who knows that nothing can take from them what was meant for them. To be emotionally detached is to trust the timing of the divine while remaining faithful to your responsibilities. It is knowing that your effort is sacred, but the outcome belongs to a higher order. In this mastery of detachment, you find peace that no chaos can disturb. You find the kind of confidence that does not shout but radiates quietly from within. You begin to understand that life's power lies not in control, but in surrender. Not the weak surrender of giving up, but the strong surrender of letting go of resistance. You stop fighting with life and start flowing with it. You stop forcing emotion to align with your will, and instead align your will with truth. The more you detach, the clearer your path becomes, for clarity lives in still waters. This is the paradox of power. The more detached you are, the more influence you gain over your reality. The moment you stop chasing control is the moment you begin to embody it. The one who is emotionally detached can walk into any situation with composure because they understand that nothing external can harm what is anchored in the internal. Detachment is the crown of spiritual maturity, the quiet dignity of one who has conquered themselves. And when you conquer yourself, there is nothing left to conquer, for the universe itself becomes your reflection. Procrastination is the silent thief of destiny. It steals, not in loud moments of chaos, but in gentle whispers that sound reasonable. I'll start tomorrow. I'm just not ready. I need to think about it a little more. Those words seem harmless, but they are poison wrapped in comfort. Each time you repeat them, a piece of your potential withers away. The tragedy of procrastination is not in the time it wastes, but in the person it prevents you from becoming. Every delay is a betrayal of the calling placed upon your spirit. Life waits for no one. It rewards those who act while others prepare, those who dare while others debate, those who move while others wait for the perfect moment that never comes. You must see procrastination for what it truly is: fear disguised as reason. The mind invents excuses to protect the ego from failure. It says, "Not yet," but it means "I'm afraid." Fear of imperfection, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown. These are the roots that feed the habit of delay. But courage is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to act in spite of it. To overcome procrastination, you must confront fear directly with eyes open and spirit steady. You must say to yourself, "Even if I fail, I will not fail from inaction," because the pain of doing is temporary, but the pain of avoiding is eternal. The universe does not move for the hesitant. It moves for the bold, for those who make a decision and step forward when their knees tremble. When you act, even imperfectly, you create momentum. Momentum is the breath of destiny. It carries you forward, attracting new energy, new ideas, and new opportunities. But when you wait, momentum dies, and with it dies possibility. Every vision demands movement. The seed of greatness within you cannot grow in the soil of hesitation. It needs action, consistency, and courage to breathe. Most people do not realize that procrastination is a spiritual issue, not just a mental one. It is the soul's resistance to growth. The task you avoid is often the very door to your next level. That's why it feels heavy, why it intimidates you, because it has power within it. The greater the resistance, the greater the potential behind it. The moment you begin what you fear, you awaken strength that was sleeping within you. The simple act of beginning dissolves the illusion of difficulty. You do not need to see the whole path, you only need to take the first step. Life reveals itself to the moving soul, not to the waiting one. Procrastination feeds on emotion. It thrives when you wait to feel ready, motivated, or inspired. But feeling is a follower, not a leader. You do not move because you feel inspired. You feel inspired because you move. The act of doing creates the emotion of readiness. Once you understand this, procrastination loses its grip. The power is not in waiting for the right feeling, but in commanding yourself to begin. Every time you obey discipline instead of emotion, you build spiritual muscle. And once that muscle grows strong enough, procrastination no longer finds a home within you. There is a deep truth you must grasp. Every moment of hesitation sends a message to your subconscious that your fear is stronger than your faith. The mind obeys repetition. The more you hesitate, the more your mind learns that delay is your default. But the more you act despite uncertainty, the more your mind learns that courage is your nature. This is how you reprogram your destiny, by consistent, deliberate action. Each time you move forward, no matter how small the step, you rewrite the story of your life. You are telling your future, "I am no longer a slave to hesitation. I am the master of decision." Procrastination also thrives in the illusion of time. You think you have more of it. You think tomorrow will bring more energy, more clarity, more opportunity. But tomorrow is not promised, and opportunity does not wait for your convenience. Every great achievement was born in a moment of decision, not delay. The secret of the successful is not that they have more time, but that they refuse to waste the time they have. They understand that the most dangerous phrase in any language is someday, because someday never arrives. It is a dreamland where potential dies quietly. If you do not assign a time to your dream will become a ghost that haunts you in the silence of regret. You must learn to act quickly and think deeply, not the other way around. Thinking deeply without acting quickly is the birthplace of stagnation. The mind will always find a reason to postpone, because its job is to protect you from risk. But life rewards the one who risks action, not the one who protects comfort. When you act, you tell life, "I am ready to participate in my own unfolding." And life, seeing your courage, begins to move pieces in your favor. People appear, ideas align, doors open, but the key that unlocks them all is action. You must also understand that procrastination grows strongest in the absence of clarity. When the mind does not know what to do, it does nothing. That is why purpose is essential. Purpose gives direction to your energy. When you know why you are doing something, the how becomes lighter. You stop waiting for perfect conditions because your vision becomes your fuel. Clarity kills procrastination because it eliminates confusion. Every minute spent defining your purpose is a minute invested in action. The undisciplined wait for conditions, the disciplined create them. The tragedy of procrastination is that it disguises itself as harmless delay, but in truth, it is the slow erosion of your spiritual authority. Each time you postpone what you know you must do, you weaken your word to yourself. Integrity is not just about honesty with others. It is about honesty with yourself. When you say you will do something and fail to act, you fracture your self-trust. But when you keep your word, even in small tasks, you build unshakable confidence. You teach your subconscious that you can be trusted with greater challenges. And the more you prove yourself trustworthy, the more power you receive. A. Brewery. The antidote to procrastination is movement. Not thought, not planning, not perfection. Movement. A single step taken now has more value than 1,000 intentions left for tomorrow. Once you start, energy flows. You will never regret beginning, but you will always regret waiting. The future belongs to those who take imperfect action in the present. The past cannot change, but the moment you decide to move, your future begins to shift. Procrastination loses its grip the moment you realize that time is sacred. Every breath is a gift, every second a seed. What you do with this moment determines what kind of fruit you will harvest in the seasons ahead. Do not waste it waiting for permission from the world or for alignment from emotion. Begin now. Act now. Move now. There will never be a perfect time because perfection is born through action, not before it. The universe honors momentum, not hesitation. Hebrew. You were not created to be still in fear, but to move in faith. You were not made to wait for opportunity, but to create it. The voice that says, "I'll do it later," is the voice of limitation. The voice that says, "I'll do it now," is the voice of liberation. Each time you choose the second, you are freeing yourself from the invisible chains that bind so many. You are declaring, ye, that your purpose is stronger than your fear. And that declaration, spoken not in words but in deeds, is the sound of destiny awakening. Procrastination may seem small, but it is the gatekeeper of greatness. If you can conquer it, there is nothing you cannot achieve. Every empire, every invention, every transformation began with a single act of defiance against delay. When you say, "I will not wait," you align with the eternal law of creation itself, for creation is action. Life is movement. And those who move, even in uncertainty, are carried by divine momentum toward the fulfillment of their purpose. Spiritual strength begins where emotional reaction ends. The moment you stop allowing external events to dictate your inner state, you begin to taste the power of true mastery. To react is human. To remain centered in the face of provocation is divine. The world will always test you, pull at you, and provoke you to descend into its chaos. People will disappoint you, circumstances will challenge you, and emotions will rise like storms within. But the one who has cultivated inner strength does not rise and fall with the waves. He becomes the ocean itself. He understands that peace is not found in the absence of storms, but in the ability to remain calm within them. Emotional reaction is the chain that binds the soul to mediocrity. Every time you react without awareness, you surrender your power. The mind becomes a puppet, pulled by the strings of external forces. You shout when insulted, withdraw when rejected, lose focus when criticized, all because you have given others access to your inner weather. Spiritual strength begins when you take that access back. It begins when you realize that no person, no situation, and no circumstance has authority over your emotional state unless you grant it. The power of a person lies in their ability to remain unshaken. When you choose response over reaction, you are not suppressing your emotion, you are mastering it. Suppression is weakness disguised as control. Mastery is power expressed through peace. The emotionally reactive person burns energy fighting the world. The spiritually strong one directs that same energy toward creation, growth, and progress. Reaction scatters your power, calmness concentrates it. Every great leader, every visionary, every enlightened soul throughout history learned to govern themselves before they attempted to influence the world. They understood that the true battlefield is not external. It is the inner kingdom of thought and feeling. The mind will always whisper reasons to react. It will tell you that you must defend yourself, that you must prove your point, that you must respond immediately to every challenge. But this is the deception of ego. Ego seeks validation. The spirit seeks vision. When you operate from ego, every offense feels personal. When you operate from spirit, you see every challenge as a test of mastery. The difference between the two is vast. One doctor aims you, the other refines you. The person who learns to pause before reacting begins to notice something extraordinary. Power gathers in stillness. The more you resist the impulse to react, the more dominion you gain over yourself. Emotional detachment is not the denial of feeling, it is the discipline of awareness. It is the capacity to experience emotion without being consumed by it. The spiritually strong understand that emotion is a visitor, not a ruler. They feel deeply, but they do not drown. They allow the energy of emotion to move through them and then release it. That is why their power feels so calm, so unforced, so radiant. They do not fight the storm. They observe it, learn from it, and continue walking through it. When you react emotionally, you become a slave to the past. Your reactions are echoes of old wounds, memories, and patterns that have not yet been healed. The more you heal, the less reactive you become. Healing is not forgetting what hurt you, it is remembering it without losing your peace. That peace is a mark of spiritual maturity. It is the quiet knowing that nothing external can disturb the sanctuary you have built within. When you reach that level of awareness, the world no longer has the power to move you against your will. You become the steady flame that burns through the storm without flickering. There will always be moments that test this strength. Life will send you people who misunderstand you, circumstances that stretch you, losses that break your heart. The purpose of these moments is not to destroy you, but to deepen you. Each test is an invitation to demonstrate mastery. Every time you respond with calm instead of chaos, with wisdom instead of wrath, you ascend a level higher in consciousness. You begin to see that your strength is not measured by how loudly you fight, but by how quietly you endure. Spiritual strength is not loud or dramatic. It is silent, consistent, and unyielding. It does not seek attention, nor does it need validation. It simply is. You know you have reached spiritual strength when your peace no longer depends on what others say or do. You no longer chase apologies to feel whole, nor revenge to feel powerful. You have realized that your peace is too precious to be traded for reaction, and in that realization, you find freedom. The freedom to choose your response, the freedom to protect your energy, the freedom to live from principle instead of impulse. Every time you react emotionally, you are declaring that something outside you has more power than what is within you. But when you choose stillness, you are declaring the opposite, that your inner world is your domain and nothing can overthrow it. This is the essence of spiritual sovereignty. The world may shake, but the spirit remains unmoved. This strength cannot be faked. It is cultivated through discipline, reflection, and the daily decision to rise above. It comes from forcing yourself over and over to pause when you whiz, to explode, to breathe when you wish to attack, to think when you wish to retreat. That pause is sacred. Within it lies your evolution. The emotionally reactive mind lives in chaos because it reacts to illusion. Most things that trigger you are not personal. They are reflections of your own unhealed perception. The words of others do not define you, your reaction to them does. The events of life do not break you, your interpretation of them does. The moment you understand this, you step out of bondage, you stop fighting shadows, and begin to master substance. This is the difference between existing and evolving. To build spiritual strength, you must train your awareness daily. Observe your thoughts without becoming them. Observe your emotions without judging them. The goal is not to feel nothing, but to feel everything without being ruled by anything. When anger arises, watch it. When fear visits, greet it. When sadness comes, allow it to pass through. This is the practice of detachment, remaining awake within emotion instead of asleep within reaction. Each time you succeed, even slightly, your strength expands. Understand that power does not come from resistance alone, but from alignment. You are not trying to control the world, you are learning to control your response to it. The spiritually strong are not cold, they are compassionate. They know that anger is often pain in disguise, that cruelty is confusion, that criticism is projection. They see beyond behavior and respond from understanding. This is why their presence feels healing, because they do not add fire to fire. They bring light instead. Your spiritual strength grows each time you force yourself to stand still in the face of provocation. It grows when you choose to forgive instead of retaliate, when you choose to understand instead of judge, when you choose peace over pride. These choices are not weakness, they are divine power expressed through self-mastery. To react is to be controlled, to remain calm is to command. When you control yourself, you control the energy of every situation you enter. In the end, spiritual strength is not about becoming invincible, it is about becoming unshakable. It is the quiet realization that you can handle whatever comes, not because the world is gentle, but because you have become strong. The storm may rage, but within you there is stillness. The noise may rise, but within you there is clarity. That stillness, that clarity, that unbothered presence, that is the mark of a soul that has conquered reaction and risen into true spiritual power. Hebrew, where action births clarity. The mind can dream, plan, and imagine, but it is action that transforms thought into reality. You can sit in silence for years, waiting for perfect direction, yet the truth remains. Clarity does not come to those who wait. It comes to those who move. The path never reveals itself to the thinker. It reveals itself to the doer. You learn who you are and what you are capable of only when you step forward, even when the ground beneath you feels uncertain. The universe rewards movement. The fog of confusion begins to lift the moment you begin to walk through it. Every action, no matter how small, invites revelation. Each step taken in faith opens the next. You were not meant to figure it all out before beginning. You were meant to begin, and through that beginning to figure it all out. Most people are trapped not by their limitations, but by their hesitation. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect certainty. But perfection is not the starting point. It is the result of movement. The waiting mind grows weaker with every delayed decision, for in waiting, energy decays. The spirit was not created for stagnation. It was created for expansion, for momentum, for progress. Each time you act, even imperfectly, you feed the spirit. Each time you delay, you starve it. Clarity lives not in stillness, but in motion. The water becomes clear only when it flows. You cannot think your way into understanding, you must act your way into it. The greatest thinkers of history were also men and women of action. They did not sit forever analyzing possibility. They moved, they tested, they learned. Their clarity came from experience, not speculation. Thinking without action is like lighting a lamp and hiding it under a basket. Its light never reaches the path. The act of doing brings understanding that thought alone can never give. Life responds not to what you intend, but to what you perform. E. Brulot. There is a law that governs creation. Movement attracts revelation. When you take one step, life shows you the next. But when you remain still, waiting for certainty, you are declaring to life that you do not trust it. Faith is expressed not in words, but in movement. The one who moves, even without knowing all the answers, is saying, I trust that the path will appear beneath my feet. That trust awakens divine intelligence. The universe rearranges itself to guide those who move with conviction. but it cannot guide what refuses to go anywhere. Many people pray for direction, yet when direction comes, they do not act. They ask for signs, but ignore the small whisper that tells them to begin. The truth is that the answer is revealed only in participation. The door opens when you knock, not when you wait. If you desire clarity, begin where you are with what you have. The smallest action taken now has more power than the grandest intention left undone. You may stumble, you may fail, you may not yet understand, but even failure teaches what standing still cannot. Each mistake is a message, each setback a teacher, each effort a map that leads you closer to truth. The wise know that confusion is not a curse, but a call to act. It is life saying, "Move so I can show you what comes next." Yet the fearful interpret confusion as a signal to stop. They freeze, hoping that thinking will solve what only doing can. The longer they wait, the care the fog becomes. But the bold, the ones who act even while unsure, discover that the fog begins to part only once they take that first uncertain step. It is in walking through uncertainty that you earn understanding. Action brings confidence, and confidence brings clarity. You cannot build self-belief from the sidelines. Every time you act, you gather evidence of your own power. The mind begins to understand that you are capable, that you can handle the unknown, that you are trustworthy. This self-trust becomes the foundation upon which clarity stands. The hesitant soul, however, never discovers its own strength. It analyzes the mountain endlessly, but never climbs it. And so, the mountain becomes larger in imagination than it ever was in reality. The climber, through action, learns that what once seemed impossible is only a series of steps. Clarity is not a light that appears before the journey. It is a flame that grows brighter with every act of movement. The more you do, the more you see. The mind learns through doing what it could never learn through waiting. Each effort, each failure, each success sharpens your perception. You begin to see patterns, to recognize opportunities, to hear the voice of intuition more clearly. Inaction drowns intuition. Action amplifies it. Your intuition becomes sharper, your discernment stronger, your understanding deeper. This is why the man of action often appears wise, because he has learned through experience what others have only read in books. It is better to act imperfectly in purpose than to wait perfectly in doubt. The mind can always find a reason not to begin, too early, too late, too hard, too uncertain. But the truth is that there will never be a perfect time. The perfect time is now. For every day you wait, your courage decays a little more. The habit of delay grows stronger, and the spirit grows quieter. But every day you act, your will expands, and the voice of purpose becomes louder. Clarity is not given to the passive. It is earned by the active. The one who moves learns more in a week than the one who waits learns in a lifetime. Because life speaks to those who engage with it. It reveals itself only to those who participate in its unfolding. The thinker observes from afar, but the doer lives in the dialogue between decision and destiny. Action is the conversation between your will and the universe. When you move, you speak. When you hesitate, you fall silent. And the universe, hearing your silence, assumes you have nothing more to say. You must train yourself to begin before you are ready. Every master was once a beginner who refused to wait for perfection. They understood that clarity would come through repetition, through trial, through persistence. You cannot refine what does not exist. So begin. Take the imperfect first step. Write the flawed first sentence. Build the crude first version. Speak even if your voice shakes. It is through that first attempt that the next revelation comes. Perfection is not the product of stillness. It is the child of persistence. Remember this eternal truth. Life rewards the bold, not the hesitant. It does not require that you know everything before starting. It only asks that you start. You will never know all the answers because the answers are hidden in the act itself. When you move, you are not just changing your external world, you are reshaping your inner one. You begin to see yourself differently. not as someone waiting for direction, but as someone creating it. That shift in identity is what transforms confusion into clarity. In every area of life, purpose, work, love, growth, clarity is born through engagement. The act of doing clarifies desire. The act of speaking clarifies thought. The act of moving clarifies direction. You are not meant to stand at the edge of life analyzing the current. You are meant to step into it. The river reveals its rhythm only to those who swim. So, do not wait for the map. Become the traveler who discovers the path by walking it. You will never know how far you can go until you begin. Action births clarity because it aligns you with the creative rhythm of the universe. Creation itself is movement, the constant unfolding of energy into form. When you move, you participate in that divine process. You align yourself with the laws that govern success, purpose, and manifestation. The dream that seems distant today begins to move closer the moment you take the first deliberate step toward it. The fog lifts, the way opens, and suddenly, what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. The one who acts walks with divine momentum, guided not by perfect knowledge, but by perfect faith that clarity will always meet movement. When all the words have been spoken, when every lesson of discipline, detachment, and divine purpose has settled into the mind, the truth remains simple and eternal. You are the master of your destiny because you are the master of yourself. No force on earth can imprison the soul that has learned to act without waiting for emotion, to move without begging for motivation, to obey purpose above feeling. The moment you command yourself into motion, you awaken the sleeping giant within, the power of divine will, the same force that shapes worlds and bends reality to belief. You were never created to drift through life hoping for inspiration. You were created to command it. Every hesitation weakens the spirit, but every act of self-discipline strengthens it. The universe does not listen to words. It listens to vibration, and the vibration of action speaks louder than all prayers left unfulfilled. When you rise above emotion, you rise above limitation. When you act with faith, the invisible begins to serve you. Life itself rearranges in favor of the one who moves with conviction. Force yourself to begin, and the power to continue will reveal itself. Detach from doubt, and confidence will grow in its place. Walk by faith, not feeling, and clarity will unfold beneath your feet like a golden path. You will discover that success is not something you chase. It is something you command by the authority of self-mastery. Every moment you overcome resistance, every time you act despite fear, you are proving to yourself that you are no longer the servant of weakness, but the vessel of divine will. So rise, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, but now. Act with purpose, with faith, with relentless self-command. For when you master the power to make yourself move, you no longer merely exist, you begin to create. And that, my friend, is the moment the universe begins to recognize your name.